Hey guys, it's Oluvids, and today we're going to be talking about Sora's character throughout the entire Kingdom Hearts series. Pre-Kingdom Hearts 4, of course, is all we have at the moment. So definitely leave a like and subscribe if you have been enjoying this video, and let's go take a look at how his character changes throughout the series. So we start off in Kingdom Hearts 1, and early on in the game, he's a bit of a slacker. Instead of trying to work on the raft to get off the other world, he's there just sleeping and all that. Even Kairi's telling him to get up, even though she's kind of slacking too, and Riku's doing all the work. Other people like Tidus, Waka, and Selphie basically saying that Riku is kind of the strongest and the best here. He's kind of like quote unquote that main character, and Sora's kind of the number 2. You know, Destiny Islands does set up a lot that Sora is number 2. He is not the main character. He's the side character in Riku's story. That definitely is a part of his aspect. And then the big event happens in Destiny Islands, and he gets blasted off into Traverse Town, and he's still an underdog, but he's, you know, doing the right thing because he is a good person at heart, and he just wants to help people out. Alongside looking for Riku and Kairi, he's on his journey looking for them and helping Donald and Goofy. Eventually, towards the middle of Kingdom Hearts, he's actually confident and brave enough to stand up to Riku himself, along with the other Disney villains. Once he sees that Riku is on the wrong side, he stands up to him, and despite him not being quote-unquote the main character, I mean, he's gonna fight and he's gonna do it. He gets along well with everyone, and, you know, including Donald and Goofy, and he's definitely a lot more confident at this point in the game. And eventually, when he gets his Keyblade taken, his confidence does go down a bit because he's, you know, he's just on the floor and doesn't do anything. But then once he sees Beast get up and he's like, even though I'm alone, I'm gonna keep going, that kind of gets him back up. He's like, all right, we can do it together, we can take them on. And once he finally reaches them, Beast leaves and he's all alone. And that's when he realizes, or at least maybe along the way with Beast, he realized that his power comes from his friends, and if he has the bonds, all the bonds he's made, all the friends he's made, because of those bonds and connections, his heart finally became stronger than Riku at that point, and the Keyblade chose him. We also see that he's willing to sacrifice himself to save his friends. He went and freed the hearts, he freed Kairi's heart, and he didn't even know if he was going to come back. He puts himself last, and he puts the rest of his friends first, so that's going to come into play later on. But right now, in terms of Kingdom Hearts 1, Sora, he is, you know, very nice, he's very helpful. Wants to help anyone he can. At first, he wasn't really brave, and he wasn't really, you know, he's kind of a slacker. He just lays around and sleeps, but eventually the responsibility comes in with the Keyblade, and he's brave enough to do what's right and stand up to those who he knows is wrong. In terms of how he deals with his enemies, I mean, he doesn't necessarily make fun of them or anything. He's kind of just like I don't know, typical hero, just like, hey, we'll stop you and whatever. I'm not even gonna lie, in terms of the Disney villains, it's mainly the Disney characters, like the heroes, interacting with them while he's off to the side, and he backs them up and such. So we don't really have that much of him interacting with the villains in terms of like his own personal feelings towards them. But moving over to Chain of Memories. So Chain of Memories is after he went and beat Ansem, saved the world. Apparently, you know, in his mind, he beat the strongest guy. And he's pretty confident after his whole adventure, especially after beating Ansem. He's confident enough that when Marluxia is telling him that he won't be able to take his friends in, he feels like he can handle it on his own. He's like, I'll be fine without them, don't worry. It wasn't in a malicious way or anything like, oh, leave me alone, but he was like, I'll handle myself, don't worry, guys. And he's probably thinking, they beat Ansem, so how hard could these guys be? They can't be that strong. He also does a bit of teasing here and there with Donald. And just generally, he is a lot more confident than he was at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 1. Not only that, he doesn't trash talk here either, but he makes it clear that whoever's in his way, you know, he'll fight and he will stop them. So that's how he is coming straight off of Kingdom Hearts 1, so that's before any manipulating has happened. So generally, we can see that even before the whole year time skip and maybe any puberty that might have happened or anything like that, any changes there or any Roxas in there, he's confident. So in Chain of Memories, once we have the memory altering, that starts happening, the swapping, he becomes super obsessive over Naminé, and he's willing to ditch his friends if they aren't also obsessive over Naminé. He doesn't want to think ahead, he's very rash, he'll rush into danger. He doesn't trust anyone else because he's just like, I have to go save Naminé. If you guys aren't rushing in with me, then I don't need you guys. And eventually he does come around despite all the memory altering, and he reconnects with Donald and Goofy, so he's not completely off the edge. He still will work with them because he realized, like, okay, I can't do this myself. He got beat up and eventually he gets healed by Donald and all that kind of stuff, and they even do the all for one, one for all kind of thing. But eventually, you know, he comes around and all that, and he gets back. He's like, all right, I decided to make me how I was, return my old memories. So Chain of Memories is going to be kind of an outlier. It's not really the norm because he literally had his memory altered to become this way. He was manipulated. This is the only time you really see Sora get manipulated this much in terms of his own personality and his memories. And it's one of the reasons why I like Chain of Memories, because it's pretty interesting to see Sora act this way. But we know that's not bad writing, it's because he's literally being manipulated to act this way. Anyway, so that's Chain of Memories. You could say it's character regression, but that's because they forced him to regress. So then later on, we got Kingdom Hearts 2, and I'm going by, order of release. So Kingdom Hearts 2, he finally wakes up after a year, after the whole restoring his memory thing. So he's preset to before Chain of Memories, so he doesn't experience Chain of Memories, he doesn't have any memories. However, he does have Roxas absorbed in, so there might be a little bit here and there. We'll get into that, we'll discuss what's that, what's Roxas, what's him. He's still looking for Riku, of course, just like he was in Chain of Memories. He knows like Kairi's safe, so he isn't really too concerned about her at the moment. He still has a silly side for his friends. I mean, literally the first thing he does is ring around to Rosie when he wakes up, so he's not like, oh yeah, I'm super cool and serious, I don't do anything, like he's still silly with his friends, so he still is like Sora. So over in Twilight Town, we see that like not every feeling he has is going to be his own. We have things like, him crying over leaving Hayner, Pence, and Olette, and him thinking that he's been to Twilight Town before. So that's an example of Roxas kind of adding some extra baggage to him. That's not Sora at all. For the most part, I believe that Sora is in control in terms of his feelings. Once we get over to the Mysterious Tower, he makes fun of the fact that he beat Maleficent and that she's dead and all that. And he doesn't really take Pete seriously because, I mean, if you're Maleficent's underling and they beat Maleficent in her strongest dragon form, then there's really nothing to worry about. And this is kind of the beginning of when we see Sora kind of making fun of his enemies and being generally really confident. And if he views someone as weaker than him, then he will make fun of them. And after he deals with all the Heartless in Yen Sid's tower, he is warned by Yen Sid that nobodies will try to trick you into thinking that they have feelings, and he learns the general old lore of the nobodies. They not supposed to exist, they don't have any hearts, no feelings, anything like that. And so that also leads us to moments with the organization. So let's talk about when he first encounters them. He doesn't think there's anything really to worry about in terms of the organization. He doesn't seem like he's really threatened that much. He makes fun of them as well. Just like how I said, he'll make fun of you if he doesn't think you're on his level. In terms of here, I don't think any antagonism or roasting comes from Roxas or anything. I believe it's just Sora being confident. He's like, I beat Ansem, so like you guys, I mean, you're messing up stuff. I'll make fun of you while also beating your guys up, so whatever. This is also one of the parts that people like about Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora, is a lot more involved with the villains this time along in terms of like, well, I mean, we have the Disney villains, but we have now a bigger organization group of Kingdom Hearts original characters, so he has a lot more to interact with in terms of them. He's still helpful and friendly to anyone who isn't evil, so let's say when he's talking to Leon and them, he's not like edgy or antagonistic towards them. I remember seeing tweets that are saying that like Sora has mood swings, he's all edgy and all of that. I mean, I believe he still acts pretty normal in terms of like anyone who isn't evil or anyone who isn't an adversary, so I don't really see anything like him being too edgy. Now granted, yeah, this is the early 2000s and he made him more all black and all of that, so sure, maybe a bit of the sass is because, oh, they wanted to be, a little early 2000s edginess, but I don't think he's really like super edgy. Also, in terms of, early Kingdom Hearts 2, when he first sees Demyx, he isn't like angry at him or anything, he's just weirded out by just Demyx being Demyx. But he's willing to fight him because, I mean, he's messing around the world. This is going to tie into the next point, which is moving on over to the middle of Kingdom Hearts 2. This scene right here is something that everyone's always bringing up as Sora. Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora not really being mature and having random mood swings, or maybe Roxas being in control and all of that. So at first, when you encounter Demyx in Hollow Bastion, Sora is again making fun of him because he sees him as weak. He's like, I bet you can't even fight. You're weak, so why'd they even choose you? Whatever. He's pretty much just roasting him because, again, Sora will roast anyone who he sees as lower than him. However, he does fight Demyx, and Demyx does kind of switch up his personality. And eventually, when he beats them, he doesn't really care about him. He's just like, all right, who's next? Anyone else from the organization wants to fight? Now, I feel like maybe people might have forgotten the context of this. Maybe it's partly Roxas, but there is a reason that Sora is angry at them, that angry, because at that point in the game, they know that Axel, or at least someone in the organization, stole Kairi. So, I mean, I think he has every reason to be angry at the organization in general, because they literally kidnapped Kairi. So at this point in the game, he has more urgency in terms of like going after the organization. We also see this again when he meets Xemnas. He's like, out with it, nobody, where's Kairi? Generally, he is a lot more antagonistic to the organization because of the fact that, they took Kairi, they're messing up Hollow Bastion, and all this kind of stuff. Maybe there's a bit of Roxas, but I don't think so. In terms of the ending of Kingdom Hearts 2, towards the ending section, we see that he actually forgives and respects Axel for when he was trying to help them, and when he's like dying after he did this big explosion attack. Sora isn't just antagonistic towards every nobody ever. I mean, he could have just been like, I'm glad you're dead or whatever, but he does care about him, and he wanted him to apologize to Kairi himself, but unfortunately, Axel was too busy dying, so he couldn't do that. But we know that as long as the nobodies show that they can be good, then he will forgive them. Maybe it could be a bit of Roxas, but I don't know. He didn't really act like he was like, oh yeah, I care about you, as if the same way Roxas cared about you. He's more like just he respected him, he gained respect and all that. Later on, we see that Riku comes back and he is in the Ansem form, but Sora straight up thinks that this is Ansem's secret of darkness, and he's willing to thank Ansem for protecting Kairi. So we can even see that, like, he's not just like, oh, I will kill every person who was an enemy. He even is willing to, like, forgive Ansem's secret of darkness, which I think is a pretty big deal we have to take note of. Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora is willing to forgive him because he was helping Kairi, so I don't think Sora's perception of, like, who should I be antagonistic to is completely black and white. So I think it's specifically to those who he sees as a threat. And then eventually he learns it's Riku and all that. We have the scene where he's crying because, you know, he hasn't found Riku for so long and he's been trying to track him down for all this time. So there's that. He does hug Kairi, and I don't want to say he doesn't care that Kairi is there, but obviously he's seen Kairi, he's got her safe before. Riku he hasn't seen since he closed the door back in Kingdom Hearts 1. He hasn't even known if he was, like, safe since then, because Mickey wouldn't tell him what happened to Riku. Eventually we see him fight more organization members, and there's more of them calling him Roxas, and he's just like, why you guys keep calling me Roxas? Like, what's going on with that? That's the main thing he's really concerned about. He doesn't really feel sad that they die or anything like that. Eventually, at the end, we see that when he's fighting Xemnas, he reaffirms that nobody can't feel anything. He can't feel sad about anything. So at this point, he still believes that, like, they don't have hearts or anything like that. So that's probably why he doesn't feel any type of way about killing them. But, however, Riku does tell him that Roxas is his nobody. And eventually, Sora actually says that he wishes he could meet Roxas after Riku reveals who he is. So, again, he's not super antagonistic towards people just for being nobodies. He wants to meet Roxas. We also see that he accepts Riku despite all the darkness that he fell into. So we see that Sora is still a really nice guy. He's willing to forgive Riku. He's not, like, mad at him or anything. He still considers Riku to be his best friend. And then later on, we see towards the end of Sora admits that he always thought that Riku was better than him, which calls back to over in Kingdom Hearts 1, where we always see from what everyone else says, yeah, Sora's like the number 2, Riku's number 1, he's the main guy. Here Sora admits, like, yeah, he thought that too. And he admits that he wanted to be like Riku. And I think that maybe it might be possible that Sora acting the way he does here, maybe it's him trying to be like Riku. Because definitely Riku would be a lot more disrespectful to his enemies. It's possible that for Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora, he wanted to be more like Riku. He's trying to kind of emulate him. Now that he's more confident, now that he has the Keyblade to save the world, it is definitely possible, I think. And after admitting that they both want to be like each other, they basically see the positives in themselves. So Sora, learns, like, Riku admires the fact that he can just follow his heart and come to the right conclusion. And Riku, always does these drastic measures in order to get what he needs to happen, and he falls in the darkness over and over and over. So at this point, I feel like Sora probably has a different view of himself now that he gets that confirmation from Riku that you being you is really good, and I admire that, and I wish I had that. So I think it definitely changed Sora's view going into other games. However, we have to go over to Kingdom Hearts Days, which Sora just went like, and that's really it. So moving on over to Birth by Sleep, we see that he's pretty in line with Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora. He's kind of the number 2. Riku's better than him, but he still likes to be competitive and do races with Riku, and he still wants to do the right thing in terms of helping Ventus. Granted, Riku did give him that idea, but this really makes sense. He flows right into Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora pretty fine. Anyway, so moving on to the interesting one here, it causes a big impact on Sora, even bigger than Kingdom Hearts 1 caused Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora. So moving on to Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. At this point in time, he's very confident. Yensid's like, forget all you know, you properly trained, and Sora's like, we beat Xemnas and Ansem, we're fine. Riku doesn't really think so, and he wants to prove himself, so he wants to go do the test, and then after that, Sora's like, alright, fine, put me through a test too, but I'm pretty sure we can handle anything. He still believes at this point that just following his heart will always lead to things working out. And that's kind of going to be his downfall, but we'll get into that later. We also see that he doesn't really trash talk anyone anymore, but right now, he just believes he's on a test, so he's not really taking anything too seriously throughout the game. Later on, he comes to the realization that Roxas should be his own person. When he's deeper in the dream, he sees Roxas' memories, and he comes to the conclusion that not only Roxas, should be his own person, but also that nobody's had hearts the whole time, and that definitely changes his perspective on the nobodies. At this point, he isn't super antagonistic towards them. He's just like, you guys have hearts, and Xemnas, why are you guys treating them like this? We see a very big shift in terms of his view on nobodies in terms of Kingdom Hearts 2, and here in Kingdom Hearts 2 he still believes they don't exist, they have no hearts, they're lying to you, so whatever, we kill them, gotta do what we gotta do. Granted, they did say that the reason they fight against them is because they messed up the world, so I think he has good motivation there, but here now he is it's kind of like a heel turn in terms of his feelings towards nobodies, especially now that he's experienced Roxas' memories and he has that personal connection to him. We also see that he's still brave enough, even despite all these different organization guys coming in, he's still going to stand up to them, which causes Zigbar to back off, and he fights Xemnas. However, him just blindly following his heart kind of backfires for him in this game. All it did was lead him further and further into a deep sleep, into the dream, allowing the organization to just swipe him right up. I believe that Donald and Goofy being around in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 definitely helps to reel him back. So once we get to Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, he really drops the ball, and that's the game where he's by himself, and he pretty much almost becomes a vessel, and he's bailed out by literally everyone. And this carries us over to Kingdom Hearts 3. And there is a big reason that he is the way he is in this game is because of the fact that Dream Drop Distance happened. The one time he's by himself is when he fails so badly, and he does what he always does, follows his heart. He didn't do anything wrong, but him being him caused him to fail this time. And this makes him insecure, because not only that, he also lost all his powers too, and he's bullied by Pete about it. And you know, we also see Donald and Goofy kind of poke fun. It actually hurts him a lot, and as you'll see later on, he's feeling really down about it. Anyway, he learns from Herc that he has to get power from fighting for something with all his heart. Right now his goal in Kingdom Hearts 3 is to get his powers back and try to get the power of waking. Following his heart really doesn't really help that much this time, so he decides to follow Roxas' heart for a bit. So that's at least one positive thing he got from Dream Drop Distance. There's also the aspect of him wanting to go help Riku and Mickey over in the Realm of Darkness. And you know, he wants to be able to stand alongside them just like he did in Kingdom Hearts 2, but because of what happened in Dream Drop Distance, everyone keeps putting him down. No, go do that, go look for the power of waking, go off in these Disney worlds, do all that stuff. We're gonna handle Aqua, don't worry. And that definitely, I think, weighs down on him as well. We also have the aspect of how he treats his enemies in this game, just like the other ones. He actually teases Marluxia and Larxene in this game. Though it's possible that in this game he's trash talking them just to make everyone think that he's confident still, because we know deep down he is very insecure at this game, and he is literally weaker. There's also the aspect of him not knowing Marluxia and Larxene. In terms of Xigbar, he doesn't act this way, so there's a large combination of things going towards this. Later on, he finally gets the power of waking back because he wanted to save Aqua with all his heart, and he's able to use it, and he finally gets it back, and that's when he can finally save everyone and stand alongside everyone over in the Keyblade Graveyard. This is where we really see that he's still very insecure, and we see the breaking point in terms of his insecurity ever since, you know, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. Once everyone dies in the Keyblade Graveyard, he completely just breaks. He gives up. He's like, alone and worthless. He's probably thinking of all the times in Dream Drop Distance where he was alone, he thought he was doing good, and he completely and utterly failed and had to get bailed out by everyone. He's probably thinking about all the times everyone's calling him a half pint, all the times they told him not to come help them because he wasn't ready yet. I think all of that just culminated into him breaking down here because he really believes, like, yeah, my friends are my power. Without my friends, literally I'm nothing. Everyone's hyping me up to be, you know, the key to saving everyone, but like the one time I was alone, I messed up badly. And now even with my friends, they all died, so like what am I supposed to do? However, there's a turning point in his character. Once he does actually end up being the key to save everyone, he uses the power of waking to restore everyone's hearts. He gained his confidence back, and this is where he actually charges headfirst into Demon Tie this time. So last time we had Riku charge in because Sora was too broken to do anything. This time he charges in himself. Granted, he's lucky because, you know, the Light of the Past came and all that, but he was willing to go and straight up fight Demon Tide himself. So this shows that, like, he's got his confidence back. He believes in himself, he believes in everyone else, and he can do this because he did a big thing by himself, so that's pretty good. He even eventually goes on to fight Xehanort alone. He'd even consider taking down the Goofy at first, so he was going to go fight him alone. So that shows his confidence is at an all-time high. He beats Xehanort, not only with his own power, but with his friends. So at this point, he kind of like, he has the power of his friend, but not only that, he has the power of himself as well. Both of those combined makes Sora at his peak, I'd say, in terms of like his confidence and his strength. In the Remind, he goes through everyone, he does all the things. He's basically on a journey by himself. He does all this stuff, and he saves Kairi, he does it. And so he did what he wanted to do. Brings Charity back over to Ventus, does all that stuff. And he fades away because, you know, he's still very self-sacrificial, just like in Kingdom Hearts 1. And of course, that is Sora's whole progression. So Sora has kind of been, he's not really like a flat character. He does help everyone else grow, but he also has character progression and a regression. He has his own journey in terms of self-confidence that he goes on, starting ever since the first game. So if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. Tell me who your favorite, you know, version of Sora is. Whether it's Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, 3, Dream Drop, or Kingdom Hearts Recoded, or Chain of Memories if, I mean, I guess you like that Angry Sora. And yeah, so for me personally, I like the overconfident Sora, so Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora is my favorite still. But thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.